Hey, it's Mazzy, and welcome back. Jazz time. It's been a while since I've done one entire video on all jazz new releases, and this is going to be that. There are three reissues here from major labels, and then there are three other albums, new recordings by artists, two more independently, at least a smaller label. And I'm going to put a link below to the smaller labels to those two releases because I want to help you find them and support new music. It's a golden age of jazz with these wonderful reissues, Tone Poet, the Blue Note stuff, the Prestige things on OJC, as well as now Strata East. I mean, all black music through Real Gone. Just a great time for jazz, but don't shy away from new music. And obviously, even jazz has a lot of genres within the genres and directions of the music. And so I want to support music when I can too. These records, two of them I got sent to me. The rest I've purchased. So I don't play favorites. If I like the music, if I'm interested and I think there's something worthwhile to share with you, I'm going to do that. And I have done that all along on this channel. I want to start out with an artist who I just got turned on to a little over a year ago from an album on JMI Music. And on this channel, I'll put a link below to that as well. A year ago, I did a conversation with Sasha Berliner, the vibraphonist. She had an album a year ago, a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years now, on JMI out of New York called Onyx. This is her new album. It is on Outside in Music. There will be a link below to this. I saw her live in the last few weeks. I got a signed copy I picked up at her merch table. And it's a beautiful record. I'll get into a little bit. At the end of this, there is a very short clip of her playing live. Now, that clip does not reflect the music on this album. She plays around, obviously, with different musicians and different groups, different formats, and she's been playing around with the DJ thing, doing some DJ spins, digital spins, loops, various pedal type things she's playing with, and electric vibes. Now, this is mostly, do I say acoustic vibes? There is some electronics on here, but it's not that at all. This is a mood piece. This is a beautiful piece. But Sasha Berliner and I both come from San Francisco, and that was kind of a connection. When you're, a love for that city, you connect a little bit. Maybe from my point of view, more than hers. But this is a gorgeous record. She's brought in a great set of musicians that she's been playing with around LA and New York, I believe, and various festivals and jazz ensembles. I know she did things at the at SF Jazz in San Francisco. A couple of my friends saw her perform there. I would love to see that grouping, the group and some of the musicians from this album on there. What's really nice about it, Sasha on here plays vibraphone, congas, auxiliary percussion, and CS80. So there's a little bit of electronics, but this is not an electronic album. This is an acoustic album. And what's really beautiful is the piano playing of Taylor Eichste. The interaction between Sasha and Taylor is really sublime. You almost hear her play in her soloing, and it morphs into the piano seamlessly. And I just really love that, especially on the first two tracks. There's a great vibe, excuse the pun, to that. Now, in terms of her playing, I would say, based on my limited experience and knowledge of vibraphone players, although I have seen many over the years, Gary Burton seems to be the most like her. Not that she's emulating and copying. She's not copying anyone, but that seems to be the DNA there and moving forward. Now, my experience, like in the early, way back in the, my early days of jazz, the two vibraphones I got into, first was Milt Jackson because of the Stanley Turrentine album Cherry. That opening track especially, I think it was a Lee Morgan track maybe, could be wrong. But I just loved him, obviously from the modern jazz quartet. And then Bobby Hutcherson. I mean, he lived in the Bay Area for a number of years, and he would play a lot. So I was fortunate enough to see him in the 70s playing around. And she doesn't have that kind of sound, and it's different, but she's got her own unique thing. And now she's been composing too and maturing in that composition style, and it's really beautiful. She takes from historic jazz things and moves it forward. Not pushing it, not trying to make it edgy or hip or overly modern, but just good music on here. What's really kind of nice, it has a really nice syncopated feel to it throughout the entire record, especially on side one. I think the records are more mid to uptone before she kind of simmers down at the beginning of side two. But a rhythm section of Harish Raghavan on upright bass and Jong-kun Kim on drums. The dynamic those two have really kind of hold it together and bring the bottom down again. And the recording is really beautiful on that. You hear that bass, but it's not overly, thumpy or anything. It's not trying to be modern hip hop or anything else in this case. Maybe things she does live with her DJ set gets like that. This is not like that at all. There's a traditional sound here, but a modern adaptation of it. Then there's trumpet and tenor sax with Rico Jones and David Adewumi, who also plays flugelhorn on a track, and that's not on every track. And that really kind of adds another layer. It's really beautiful on here. Side two, I believe, opens up with, is it Zenith on side two? And that's really more kind of mellow and chilled out. There is a feel, there's one track here, and I hate to say I don't remember which track, that reminds me of a little bit of this kind of Latin-y thing that Chick Corea got on Spanish Heart. If you know that album, one of my favorite albums, I think that was a Polydor release, mid-75, maybe 76. Gorgeous record. And I felt a little of that. You get a little sense memory of any music, whether it's rock or jazz or Americana or something, that brings sort of influences, whether, she's influenced by that album or not. It doesn't even really matter, but that's what I was attracted to and pulled into. And I want to say one thing about, it's not really a music thing, and some people may say, Mazzy, you don't need to go there, but I really like that a lot of these newer and younger jazz artists really, even though there's no vocals on these tracks, they're bringing in themes of political themes and social themes and injustice things going on now. There is a song on here, I think it's Khan Yonis, about Gaza there. And in interviews I've heard of hers, she talks about that too. And that happens with the other independent artists I have here as well a little bit, on all different levels of it. And it's a time that I think that stuff needs to come out. Obviously, it's not as in your face or frontal when it's an instrumental, but if a piece of music is influenced by something, I think that is really important, and I love that people are aware about that and make other people aware about this. But I got a signed copy at that show. Beautiful record. Again, links below to this. Sasha Berliner, great vibraphonist. Again, mixes the acoustic vibraphone to the electric with some pedals and loops and things, especially on that performance at the tail end here. Again, that does not represent what's on this record, but this is really a beautiful record, and it's got a great vibe. That sounds so cliche when you say a great vibe to it, because because she's a vibraphonist. What can I say? Anyway, love this. Good job, Sasha. Really wonderful. Great artwork on the cover. Look at that heroic photograph too. Next is something, this is probably the most out there of the releases, and this is a new album too. And this is on Blue Note Records, so major label, Blue Note. And this is Nels, Cline, and this is Concentric Quartet, which is the name of the album and the name of this quartet here. This is really interesting too. This is diverse. This is more on the outside, avant at times. Now, Nels Cline, of course, is the guitar player with Wilco, but he's always had his own side career and has done some releases on Blue Note and on other labels with different projects and groups. And I have a couple friends that recently went and saw them at Big Ears Festival in Knoxville, Tennessee, and just loved them. I mean, so he plays with these various things. So I think it's really great when all these artists, Sasha talking about her DJ sets and the other musicians she plays with, and you get all these different influences that comes about. Sometimes this is very edgy and very out there, and sometimes it has serene effects to it too. Here is the four of them. On this is Nels Cline, of course, electric and acoustic guitar and effects and pedals. Ingrid Laubrock, tenor and soprano sax. She is featured dramatically on this album as well. Chris Lightcap on acoustic, bass, and effects, and Tom Rainey on drums. Now, this, again, is Blue Note. Beautiful kind of a modernist artwork cover. And, of course, all the inner sleeves have the 4 musicians featured there. Double record, 2-record set on Blue Note Records. There is an edginess to this one. So this one, depending on your taste in music, if you're the adventurous type, this could be for you. You know, he's the one with Wilco. When he does play with Wilco a lot, he brings some of that in. Sometimes it's very tame, sometimes it's more edgy and everything. But he's an incredible guitar player. He collaborates with so many array of different people, and I just think this is a stunner as well. But again, this is more edgy and more adventurous. That's Nels Cline on Blue Note Records. Here's an artist that someone on behalf of this artist sent this to me. This is the Omar Thomas, but it's his large ensemble. He is a trombonist, teaches at University of Texas in Austin, did work in New York. Again, there are some political overtones, social overtones on here. Now, when I first put this on, this also is a double record with a beautiful 3-panel design. Here's the large ensemble piece. This is a project that he's been working on for a number of years. I believe this is the 3rd release they've done, and I think this might be self-released, but that's why I want to support these new artists. Now, when I first put this on, again, this was sitting in my inbox for about a month before I played it. You know, sometimes between the records I buy, between normal days, record store days, you just have to be in the mood for something. And, you know, this artwork is beautiful. I kept thinking of Moses Sumney, you know, the soul kind of ethereal singer who also does this, you know, African-American with these photographs, body photographs as well. And that's a whole nother level when you're doing that on an album and you're putting yourself out there, which can be really beautiful. And you have, I thought this would be more of a neo-soul type record, nouveau soul, new soul, and it wasn't. It's not a vocal record. It's a big ensemble record, but it's not one of those big screeching big band things. Now, big band, I don't follow a lot of big band new music here, but this is really beautiful and some really kind of cool stuff too. You know, there's some things that are very, I don't even say avant because that gives the wrong impression. There's no edge to this in the same way that there is edge on that Neil Cline record. And edge isn't a bad thing. It's just something to describe because some people, you know, especially if they're not into jazz, you have to take those steps. You have to, if you're, you know, you don't just jump into Ornette Coleman to begin with at all. And this is not that. Now, I'll be honest with you. When the first thing opened, The Sun in September is this low-key piano piece. Before I knew what this was, I expected a vocal to come in. I expected this to be sort of a moody, easy, soft kind of thing. And that was actually my least favorite song on the album. And it didn't set the mood to what I was expecting on this entire album. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's kind of like just there, and not to take away from the authorship and the arrangements and everything. Soprano sax and trumpet. We have Lihi Haruvi on soprano sax and Jason Palmer on trumpet. But then it kicks into Sailed to the Moon. Now, Sailed to the Moon is a cover Radiohead, a Tom York song. I didn't recognize it at first, and I wasn't looking at the titles here, but all of a sudden, the theme, I think it's from Hail to the Thief, that Radiohead record, and I just love Radiohead, one of my favorite bands, especially that kind of period, Kid A, Hail to the Thief, Moon Shape, what is it called? Whatever the Moon album is. And I started hearing these thematic things. Obviously, he twisted it inside out. It's a long piece. It's a 13-minute piece. And there's some great sort of, the instrumentations intersecting each other, and just a really beautiful thing. It has some of that edgy thing that Radiohead Radiohead can have too when they do their electronic avant side of Radiohead. But that really kind of hooked me to this record. That sold me on this record more than that opening track. And I loved it. And then I got into the whole thing and I played it straight through twice in a row. I'm not going to name the entire set of artists on here because it is a larger ensemble, so you could probably go to the site, which I'll link below to this as well, and check it out. The only other cover he does is Episode du Jour. It's by Lyle Mays, and I knew that piece too. I recognize that because Lyle Mays was a piano player who recently passed in the last few years, who played with the Pat Metheny group. He does with these arrangements are stunning and really interesting, intricate but beautiful. There's also a couple of things. The Path is one of my favorite songs. 17-minute piece with Mark Cocchio on guitar, and it's really beautiful. There's a feel of a noir thing on a couple of the tracks here. There's a feel of things that could definitely be soundtracks from like a late 60s, 70s film noir type of thing, but not that in-your-face open. You know, you can think of Lalo Schifrin when he was writing, or the soundtracks to movies like Bullet in that period, or Shaft or something. Not really the compositions of Isaac Hayes with the obviously theme from Shaft, but the Isaac Hayes compositions that he was doing big band kind of neo soul stuff, which is really beautiful on the soundtracks that he worked on. The last piece on here, I think, is one of the more personal pieces. He talks about it in the liner notes. It's called A Touch of Obsidian, A Flash of Scarlet. 12 minutes. It has an acoustic guitar again. It has an alto sax, and it has sort of a little bit of a I keep, you know, again, we always hark back to something. I kept thinking of Miles Davis, the Spanish album. I'm blanking out on it. Or Ole by John Coltrane, that type of thing, has those kind of Latin influences on there. And he talks about in here, he wrote that after, I thought this was hysterical, I loved it, after watching Project Runway, the season finale of it, and the wardrobe and the fashion of it. I thought that was so cool, being influenced by that. You always hear, I read Hemingway's book of whatever, and, you know, Sorrow and the Pity influenced me, but I love hearing that he was influenced by Project Runway and went to the piano and composed that piece. So this is a really good album. It's called Griot Songs. It's, again, Omar Thomas, large ensemble, really successful album. And now the reissues. I got two here that just came out. I think OJC, Kraft Records with their OJC series and their Bluesville series are crushing it. The Bluesville is a combination with acoustic sound, Ted Kassem, but the OJCs, you know, these were kind of sort of budget things in the 1980s. Fantasy owned them and put them out. I have a lot of those OJCs, but what they're doing, what Kraft is doing with these heavier covers, Miles Davis, The Musings of Miles. This is from 1955, I believe. Yep, 1955. What's interesting about this is the first 12-inch that Miles put out on Prestige. Up to this point, he had 10-inch records, and this is the first 12-inch when the LP format became something. This is a killer record. This is really the beginning of the DNA of the first quartet here. You have Miles on trumpet, of course, Red Garland on piano, Oscar Pettiford on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. So it's pre-Coltrane. He would come in very soon here. But this is, you know, you got the Miles mute on some of the stuff. You got that sound that we all know about Miles Davis. This is a really good record. You see this, you know, quartet here, hear it before it's a quintet forming and doing some beautiful stuff, some standards of the day and some other things. And one of my favorite pieces, one of my favorite jazz compositions of all time is the Dizzy Gillespie composition that became, I forgot the name of it. He named it something different and it turned into Night in Tunisia. I have so many versions of that, I believe, from Charlie Parker to Dizzy Gillespie to, you know, so many other bands, you know, performed that in the 50s into the 60s. It's a classic, one of the most important jazz compositions of all time. And I just love that kind of, again, that kind of Latin-y sound and the percussion on that. It's really a killer record. So this is, again, one of two Miles Davis OJCs from Prestige that are coming out right now, that just came out in the last week or so. I just love this record. And I didn't have this one as an OJC or any version of this. So there you go, Miles Davis OJC Craft. And the second one, I have had copies of this. I'm trying to think if this is in the box set of the 10 inches. But this is Walkin'. You know, obviously when he went to Columbia, Prestige released all those records that are recorded, Rush recorded right away. But this is really kind of a comp. There's two different groups on here. This was recorded in 54, or recorded in 54, released in 57, I believe, Walkin'. And again, cut by Kevin Gray, OJC, thick covers. But I tell you, this is a fuller sound. I did compare this one. It's the only one I compared of all these records, because, well, actually, the last one, too, I compared. But this is a killer record. The first group is a sextet with Miles Davis, Horace Silver, J.J. Johnson, Percy Heath, Lucky Thompson, and Kenny Clark on drums. Killer lineup. The second is a quintet of Miles, David Schildkraut, Horace Silver again, Percy Heath, and Kenny Clark. So just a slight change up. But this is a really good record too. This is upfront record, lively record, beautifully recorded, essential in the Miles Davis thing. But again, these were originally on 10 inches, and this was put together for LP format in 1957. Kraft is killing it with the OJCs and the Bluesville. I love those Bluesville releases. And lastly, the record that really crosses over from rock to Latin to jazz. This is the Mobile Fidelity reissue of Santana's Lotus. This came out in the 70s. I believe this is the last tour with their drummer Michael Sharif, who you probably know from that great Woodstock. Just, God, the first 4 albums of Santana. This is a wonderful, wonderful record. It's just a Cavarenserai tour, probably. Now, when this album came out, I have an original copy, which was Sony Japan only. And it came out and opened up, and the posters with this beautiful origami. I'll show you a little bit about this version. It was crazy packaging, crazy beautiful. And you had to carefully open it so it wouldn't fall apart in a way. And my copy is in great shape. It was like a sonic wonder in the day. I mean, I remember at the time in the 70s, even in my system, I had a nice system, but not crazy. But it sounded really good. Great live recording from Japan with samba pati, that kind of Latin-y, musical, jazzy thing. So it has that jazz rock fusion DNA in it. It's just lovely, lovely. And I wasn't going to get this, and I read a couple of years ago, a new issue came out in Japan, and all the reviews I read said, this is one of those records that kicked ass over the original. And I thought, how can that be? Really? And then the MoFi, cut by Kurt Wunderlich, 1/2-inch, 15-inch, 4-track analog master to 2-track DSD to analog console to lathe. It's all that thing that I don't really care about, but people want to know. So it does have a digital step within, but it's an analog creation, okay? This sounds amazing. I wasn't going to get this, and I was up in Canada last week, and the store Audiophile has a lot of imports, has a lot of audiophile records, and it was right there, one copy in front of me. And the way the dollar is with the Canadian dollar, I get like 25 to 30% less than I would have bought it here. I mean, I probably saved $20, by $25 by buying it local, because it's a 3-record set. It's a massive set. This is a fuller, richer version of the original. And if this is an album that you like or consider, this is a great copy to get. Don't seek out an original unless you're just a collector, you want original. Now, the package of this has always been insane. It is like origami, right? Trifold there. But then you have these kind of, in this case, these inserted posters that wrap around. Now, obviously, there's the MoFi, your typical MoFi label. Now this is 33 1/3. Thank goodness. I don't like those 45s. All the credits on here. Crazy credits. And this is only half. I'm not going to even bring out the other half. This is an art piece in its own. And I remember every once in a while I would take it out. I think this is a heavier cardstock than the original even. So it's going to hold together much better. But it has to hold Van's itinerary in Japan there too. This is a killer set. Smokin' set. Obviously, we all know Carl Santana's smoking guitar player, but he also has that beautiful subtlety too. Remember around this time, Caravanserai, then he would play with McLaughlin. He played with Alice Coltrane. He was going in that spiritual jazz thing, and you can feel it here, along with the rock stuff. And of course, with Michael Shreves and Jose Chapito Arias on timbales, this is a great thing. You have Leon Thomas on here as well. So it's not the full original Santana from Abraxas and the first album, but this is a killer lineup. You know, Santana wasn't a singer. He always had different singers on here. But I tell you, this is an amazing record. An amazing record. And an amazing pressing, an amazing version of this record. So if you don't have this record, it's like, this is the one to get, you know. DSD and everything, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a sound, right? It's a music stupid. This is great music, and this is a full kick-ass record. All these records are. So that's it, my jazz overview. 6 jazz records that you can buy right now. I love these records. I enjoy it. So stand by for a very short, brief video when I saw Sasha Berliner do her DJ/vibe set in Seattle, Washington. Thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.